I got it. Okay. Okay, so just a little bit of history. The plan for CRISPAZ, Christians for Peace in El Salvador, began forming in 1984. So that is way over 30 years ago. And now here, 30 years later, plus years later, CRISPAZ continues to host over 24 groups a year that visit El Salvador, walking with the Church of the Poor and marginalized communities in a nonviolent process of mutual accompaniment and human liberation, continuing to promote justice in the hope that future generations can one day celebrate it. The University of Scranton is proud to have partnered with CRISPAZ for almost over 15 years, sending many faculty and staff and students on encounters. This amazing faith-based organization dedicated to building bridges of solidarity focuses on accompaniment, empowerment, justice, liberation, mutuality, nonviolence, peace, and solidarity. It is led by our guest this evening, their executive director, Francisco. This son of the world has given so much to the University of Scranton, and we are thrilled to get to know him more during this interview. Francisco is passionate about social justice and solidarity, but he also loves history, sports, dogs, and is an avid reader. What might surprise you about Francisco is his love for World War II history, Mexico City, his pet turtle, Lily, and the fact that he is a super fan of the band U2. What makes him even more endearing is how much he loves pizza. And no doubt he has eaten many slices on his many visits to Scranton, which I know he loves so much. And we can't wait for you to come back again, Francisco, and visit us. So please welcome our friend and our colleague, Francisco. So Becca, we're all yours.
All right, awesome. Well, hello, Francisco. Again, as iterated by Barbara, we're so excited to have you here. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here this evening. And we're looking forward to getting to talk to you and ask questions and be engaged with you on a personal level. The partnership between CRISPAZ and the university is obviously close to my heart, but close to everyone's heart. And we're so excited that it's still growing and becoming what it is every single year. So without further ado, I'm just going to ask some questions and we'll go from there. So our first question is to kind of just tell us about the program and what led to CRISPAZ being what it is today.
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. I'm also really excited to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation, Barbara, and I look forward to this following, 55, maybe 50 minutes we have left. Always excited to connect with the community of Scranton, the University of Scranton. So excited to be here. What led to CRISPAZ being formed? In the 80s, there was a war that took place in this part of the world, right? In my country, El Salvador, that lasted 12 years. And the US had a significant and controversial role in it. The founders of CRISPAZ, who were 3 US citizens, felt that it was extremely important to raise awareness and to allow people to see what US foreign policy was actually doing to people that lived in El Salvador, people that lived in rural areas, people that lived on the margins, if you will, people who were demanding for their rights to be given, but were met with violence. And as founders and as US citizens, more than founders, as US citizens, they felt that it was extremely important to showcase to fellow US citizens what was happening. There were certain words that were thrown around during that time that dehumanized the issues and put people in positions to not really become, enter in understanding what was going on. That word was communism. When communism was said, the attitudes were pretty much, let's bomb them all. And we wanted to humanize these issues. We wanted to make sure that people understood what was happening and what the violence of the war was who it was targeting. So as founders of CRISPAZ, they put together the first delegation that came down in 1984 and began to bring subsequent delegations in the following years. And CRISPAZ became a witness of this other side of the U.S. that was not coming down here to continue to fuel the war and the violence, but quite the opposite. They were here to show their solidarity with the people of El Salvador. And CRISPAZ has continued to be a witness of this. These 15 years that we've had a relationship with the University of Scranton have been a part of that. You know, the university continues to be a stream of solidarity that is present in how we continue to view El Salvador and U.S. relations. You know, it's not just through governments, it's through our people. And we have become just very fortunate to be witnesses of this. But, you know, just to answer the question, it was CRISPAZ was formed as a response to what the U.S. was doing here in El Salvador through their U.S. foreign policy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that question. And what you spoke to, your mission and the mission of the University of Scranton is so closely aligned. And I think that's something that we all really appreciate about the program, and that the reason why we're all so involved with the program. So I think that's, you know, a very big thing. So based off that, do you think you can talk about, through your hard work with CRISPAZ, your biggest accomplishments, but also your biggest challenges with this CRISPAZ organization?
You know, it's hard to talk about accomplishments because we are the type of organization that would like to be out of business. So I would say the accomplishment is that given the realities that exist and have existed, you know, we are still here and we are still accompanying the people of El Salvador. I would say without a doubt that is an accomplishment. You know, 36. A little over 36 years, we've been accompanying the people of El Salvador and creating these relationships between people, not only from the United States and El Salvador, but people from Canada. We've had people 2 years ago, a group from Australia came as well. So to continue to be in a position to be a bridge of solidarity between not only, like I said, the US and Canada, but also Australia, which, you know, it took people over 24 hours to get here. So just very fortunate to be here and to be able to use our resources as promote solidarity.
Wonderful. And I think a next question that we have based off that is, for you personally, what about your work do you love the most about being involved in spearheading CRISPAZ?
I would say it's the people. You know, the reason we do what we do is because of the people. The people are, especially the people who we accompany, are individuals who give us a sense of direction of where it is that we need to go. Also, give us the energy, the inspiration. And kind of provide the context for all this to make sense. It's really the people.
I could say the same thing about Scranton. The people of Scranton make it one of my favorite places in the entire universe. So I think you're spot on with the idea that people really make what you do more engaging and purposeful and important. So I
will say that the one thing that frustrates me is also the people, and not just the people of El Salvador, but the same source of energy is the same source of frustration. People that don't get it, people that feel okay with using violence to engage in dialogues and engage in action. So it's a funny situation. It's not the same people that provide the inspiration, but it's people in general that provide, you know, the inspiration to move forward, and also a different set of people that provide the frustration.
Yes, that is so true, so true. So nextly, is that even a word? Do you think you can talk about kind of your hopes and dreams and future goals for CRISPAZ? So thinking beyond what you're experiencing now, but thinking towards the future of CRISPAZ?
Sure. Well, we want to continue to provide these experiences that I think are very important for not only, not only has it been important for generations in the past, or current generations. I think it's something that will help generations in the future. The fact that we lived through a war and we are able to share this with individuals, for us is extremely important because we still live in societies that think that going to a war is a solution to a problem. So we want to continue to allow the example of El Salvador, the voice of the people of El Salvador, to be heard, to hopefully have individuals who can become bearers of peace movements, movements of nonviolence in the dialogues and actions that are carried out in our societies. So by bringing individuals to El Salvador, we can allow this, among with other experiences, to happen. And I think it's been extremely relevant for us today, given the amount of polarization that exists in the US. We want to be able to provide our experience and show people that, polarization as one is seeing it today isn't as bad as it can get. It can get a whole lot worse. And we can't just sit on the fence and kind of hope that this will pass away. We need to engage intelligently with the right emotion, but ultimately engaging in dialogues and actions that are nonviolent. So for us right now, this is extremely important. Understanding this in the context of history, I think, is really and understanding that these movements also are cyclical, and that we can't just look at them as 3-year plans. If you look at the issues of Civil War in the United States, this was over 160 years ago, and today we still need to create spaces to raise awareness around these issues. You look at the Civil Rights Movement in the United States. You would think that by now all these issues of race would have been taken care of, but no, you need to continue to circle and kind of go back and talk about it. And so the same thing is connected to our work, creating spaces for understanding the importance of nonviolence and how we engage in dialogues and actions is something we have to continue to do on a regular basis.
That's so powerful that you say that, because I think as a person I'm a biracial human being, so my father's African American and my mother's Hispanic, and being as a young person in the world right now, having to navigate through all of the cultural movements and the information that's being fed to us, having that ability to be able to create space for conversation has been personally very hard. And so I really appreciate you carrying on this kind of organization and that message, especially for people my age, because we're growing up in a time where polarization is happening and it's becoming such a difficult time to navigate. But on top of that, can we talk about COVID-19 and how it's impacted CRISPAZ and your community in El Salvador? How has COVID changed things for you, or made it difficult, harder, easier? How has that been going?
Well, I think it's made it more difficult, like it has for I think the majority of people on the world. I think there are very few people who have benefited from COVID. Supermarkets and drugstores and people who provide emergency equipment and things like that. But the rest of the world is hurting, and CRISPAZ is no exception. We've had to close our office. We are working from home. Andy Barrientos and Rafael Garcilaso, who are part of our staff, are here with us as well. So they are working from home. Stanley DeVogue, who is our development director, who lives in the U.S., his office was already in his house, so that hasn't changed. But for us, we've had to, we were forced to join this virtual world of, like many of us, to kind of work from home. We've had to, like I said, close our offices. One of the main aspects of our job is hosting these types of experiences. And like, all these different high schools and universities that would normally come had to cancel their trips to El Salvador. We actually had 4 or 5 groups in El Salvador when all this began to unravel. And we had to run around, change flights for certain groups. Certain groups had to stay extra days. So we were fortunate to have 14 groups this year. And I think we were just very lucky to be able to have these experiences with these groups. But the remaining groups, Scranton being one of them, had to cancel their trip to El Salvador. And so this obviously puts our jobs in a different position. Like I said, we had to close our office, and we are having difficulties in connecting with certain members of our communities because for a while we had a very strict quarantine that did not allow us to move around, our neighborhoods or even the city. So going out into communities was a risk because you could be arrested for being out with no proper, motive. And it was hard to prove that we were going to visit someone, so it would have been a little difficult. We've had phone calls with them, and our work has been a little complicated because of that, because we can't go and be with them. We've had conversations with them over the phone, right when the quarantine period was probably at its worst time. We were in conversations with one of the communities that we have a relationship with, and out of the 92 families that live in this community, 70 did not have the basic. They didn't have money to buy their basic rations for the day. So we reached out to some of our partners, and we were able to provide maybe a few weeks of food to kind of help them go by. So it's been difficult, without a doubt, and I think it really has put everything upside down, like it has for many people. We have to rethink how we're going to continue to carry out our mission, and I think we're still. I would like to say that, just to kind of finish answering this question, is we have been affected by it. I don't know how to answer that in a finite way, because we're still in the middle of this. Mm-hmm. We're still trying to figure out how we'll react and continue to react to it. But we are, without a doubt, continuing to move forward, and limited for many reasons, but we're moving forward.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And as you said, it's affecting every single one of us in different ways. And so I appreciate your openness and honesty about how it's affecting CRISPAZ, but that you're still moving forward and you're still continuing with this mission. So now that we've heard about CRISPAZ as an organization and your role in it, and just general information, one of the things that I loved about CRISPAZ was not only the mission and everything that we did there, but engaging with people on a personal level, I thought was one of the best parts of the trip. And so, the walls were down and you're able to engage. So now we kind of want to get into your personal experiences in your personal life, if that's okay. We want to be able to talk deeper about your life. So our first question would be, when you're making choices about your career path, what guided your decisions to get to where you are now? What brought you here?
When we have experiences, the delegations are down here. There are a lot of people that end up questioning their path or where they are, because that something has sparked a little chispa, a little spark, in them that that forces them to look at what they're doing differently. They want to engage more in social justice related issues. And sometimes they feel that maybe they're in accounting and they can't do it from there, or they are in a STEM field related career and they can't do it from there, and they think they have to move into social worker type jobs. And I would say that I've never had that kind of view of looking at what brought me here. I would say that I have always been open to, or I've always had issues with injustices, let me put it this way, since a very young age. And regardless of the work that I have been doing, I had previous jobs that were not, somewhat connected to what CRISPAZ is now. But whenever injustices occurred, I spoke up, and I always had, that very clear. So I think what brought me here is just paying attention to the signs, if you will, around me, being open to engaging in experiences, and the career that I studied was not one that is somewhat related to what I do now, if you think about it. But it brought me here not because I studied that, but it was more the way that I've decided to live my life. Social justice is something that one can apply to any field that one engages in. I always tell people that if we have only had ethical bankers in the 2008 or before that, the crisis would have been different. If we had people who were in Wall Street who believed in ethics and the way that they viewed how to run businesses and kind of the market, things would be different. So we can apply in any career, the issues of social justice. And I think I've been connected, maybe because of my past, the way that I've been connected to the history of El Salvador. My mother has had a huge impact in how I view a lot of the issues of social justice. But I've just led a normal life with an openness to these issues, and that has guided me to a place where I am being called to.
Well, you're definitely a person who has made waves and has changed, people's lives like mine, being able to open me up to these experiences and, educate human beings about the experiences of other human beings. So the fact that you're so open and willing to not only talk about these issues, but work on these issues in a very tangible way is something that I admire about you. So I hope that that a lot of people will admire that about you.
Thank you.
So can you talk more about your family and how, are they involved with CRISPAZ, or do they have a very big part of your role in CRISPAZ? Or, let's talk about your family for a little bit, if possible.
Yeah, well, I have two sisters. I have a mother and a father. My mother is a psychologist. My father is a former officer of the Salvadoran Army, but now works with international cooperation and development. They have, without a doubt, formed a lot of my opinions. They gave me kind of like the first little push, and then a lot of it obviously has had to do with me. Like I said, I have two siblings, two sisters. One is a teacher. She teaches at a school, and also a professional dancer. And until recently had a physical studio, but because of the pandemic, she's had to move everything online. And then I have my younger sister, that is the youngest sister, actually. She is a gynecologist and works as a gynecologist. And they are not connected to CRISPAZ, but because of the, living together for so many years, we have, I think, views that help us bounce off of each other, all these different perspectives, and strengthen each other's perspectives as we have conversations, and as we have conversations with our parents as well. So yeah, they're not a part of CRISPAZ directly, but in some indirect way, they help me and have helped me become who I am. And in that sense, they kind of are connected to CRISPAZ.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So next, can you tell us what you love about your country? What do you love most about El Salvador?
I love its people. I think that is, I've lived in several countries, and Salvadoran people, obviously I'm biased when I say this because I'm Salvadoran, but the people of El Salvador are very open, are very genuinely interested in kind of getting to know you, not because they're nosy, but because they're just, they want to get to know you. So the people of El Salvador are obviously one of my favorite things of El Salvador. They are what makes me proud of being a Salvadoran. And yeah, and at the same time, like I said, there are Salvadorans as well that make me annoyed and frustrated and things like that. But without a doubt, the people of El Salvador is what I really love the most about my country.
I love that about your country too. I just absolutely loved the people. I think they were without a doubt the best part, and Andy too, and the best part of my experience there was just the amount of hugs and smiles and open conversations that were so candid and genuine was just so refreshing and very educational for me as a person. So I love that too. Okay, can you tell us one of the best memories you have of Scranton from some of your visits? What are some of your best Scrantonian memories?
Well, I keep saying people, right? So it's not that I don't have another word, but it's really, whenever I visited Scranton, Andy and Rafael came for the first time. We were there last year. And I think they were able to feel what I'm about to say, but it felt as we were entering a community that we have always belonged to. So whenever we visit Scranton, the warmth that we feel by all of you is without a doubt a memory that continues to live on and continues to whenever we go, this feeling, this experience continues to add to what has already been there in the past. So that favorite memory is a permanent memory that keeps being fueled every time we go. It's, we have many wonderful relationships with other universities, and when we go there, we also feel welcome. But it's and I'll say this, I'm on the record here, I'll be recorded. I hope I don't get in trouble with the other communities, but it's truly a unique experience with the University of Scranton, with the community, with all of you. It really feels like coming to a community that you belong to. We don't feel like outsiders when we go there. And that for me is a wonderful feeling whenever I go there.
Well, I'm biased, but Scranton is the best, but I'm certainly biased.
I won't argue with that.
So we're going to kind of circle all the way back from your personal life back to CRISPAZ, but kind of make it a little bit broad. And so what can our university community do now, even during, COVID and, our state of cultural chaos that's in our world right now? What can we do to support CRISPAZ or the mission of CRISPAZ, or really what do you think we can do now?
When we were discussing what our role in this COVID era should be, Rafael, as we were exchanging ideas and opinions and conversations, Rafael came up with this idea, that solidarity can't wait. And I think that is something that really encompasses the time that we're in right now. There's this notion in certain areas where we can just hang on until the pandemic. And, once we go back to, once we get the vaccine, once we get the treatment, then we can continue our normal life. And solidarity and all these issues, all these injustices that are happening around us cannot wait. We can't just put that on hold until whenever. So understanding that we must continue to be engaged in these issues is very important. I think understanding that we cannot, given the affair of things in our world, we can't just be on the fence and just hold on patiently until something changes. We have to be active, and we have to continue to speak about the issues of immigration in a very responsible way. We have to continue to raise our voices and allow whatever positions we may have or resources to be used as platforms for these individuals to have a voice that's being drowned out by these very loud people. So obviously, we are non-for-profit. Donations help, so that's obviously something that helps. But also continuing to engage in experiences like the ones we'll be engaging in. We're doing a virtual experience to continue to create spaces for this knowledge to exchange, back and forth. One of the things that we do is in Spanish, it's called concientización. And the translation, the direct translation, is raising awareness. But in Spanish, the connotation changes a little bit, and there isn't a word, at least I haven't found one, that truly kind of embraces the word in English as it does in Spanish. Concientización is a two-way street. It's not just about being lectured and kind of like, here's material for you to kind of be aware. It's really a give and back, going back and forth with this, and understanding that we have to participate equally, or sometimes not equally, but we have to participate in kind of going back and forth on these different issues. So we're continuing to move forward with these virtual experiences, so we can, as Salvadorans, continue to, and as CRISPAZ, continue to allow our platform to be a microphone for other people in El Salvador. We'll be connecting to different organizations that work on human rights, various human rights issues. And we also have a space for the communities to have their voice amplified through a small microphone. But we are definitely invested in continuing to talk about solidarity and all these different values that come out of encounters like the ones we're just very blessed to facilitate.
Yes, thank you. So now we're reaching part of the program where we would like to open up to some questions and an open dialogue or conversation. But before we do that, do you have any more words of wisdom that you'd like to share with us that we didn't cover yet, or more information about just what you've learned through CRISPAZ and what you've learned about service or community, or any parting words of wisdom before we kind of open up the forum to ask more questions and to get to know you better?
I think I would just like to probably offer a bit of advice in terms of the state of things currently happening in the U.S. and I feel okay with talking about the U.S. and giving a little bit of suggestions about certain things that happen in the U.S. because it affects us as Salvadorans. So understanding that one cannot just sit by is extremely important. I think we have come to a point in our lives where we can't, being silent, being neutral is not a choice. It's not a choice that benefits people. So I would just invite you to find ways to get involved in the various issues that are going on in your communities. And if you are already doing so, I just want to commend you for it, because that's what we need right now. We need people to be out there and to truly be engaged in trying to find healthy solutions, not easy solutions, but healthy solutions to the various problems that we are facing, not only in the US, but here in El Salvador. So just, being a spectator is not an option. It can't be an option.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited to vote this year. I'm very excited to vote. And, I've been talking to some friends and having some very good conversations just about our lives and how we've experienced privilege in some senses, and also experiencing just different walks of life and different experiences and how we can learn from each other. So that's very exciting. So thank you. So now is a great time for us to open up the floor